Well, welcome everybody to the Master of Research Information session. I'm Professor Jen Cornish. I'm the Academic Director in the Graduate Research Academy. I'm joined here today with a few panelists. We have Jenny Martin, who is helping us with facilitating this session today. And I also have Dr. Louise Dwyer, Catherine Murphy, and Mel Hubbard to help us with the question and answer session that will happen a little bit later on. I also wanted to have a shout out to Katie Gamble. Thank you very much for putting these slides together for everybody. These slides will be shared with you, and we're also recording the session that can also be shared. Okay, so I would like to acknowledge the Darug country that Macquarie University land is on, and I would like them to welcome country.
Welcome. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of Macquarie University land, the Warramadigal clan of the Darug Nation, whose cultures and customs have nurtured this land since the Dreamtime. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future. We welcome people of all nations and all faiths. Kwai Bidja, Jamna Payala Janawi. Come here, we speak together. We have 60,000 years of archaeological evidence of Aboriginal habitation at Lake Mungo and 20,000 years in Ryde. We have great antiquity. Today, hundreds of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people graduate from Macquarie University. The Darug Nation had famous leaders such as Chief Yarramundi, Naraginji, Colby and Maria Locke. Many of the descendants of these Darug people live today amongst you. We celebrate with you our ongoing attachment and custodianship of this country. We celebrate the achievements of Macquarie University.
Okay, so for the agenda for today, basically we're going to welcome you to Macquarie University, and we'll do some introductions about the Macquarie University and their research strengths. We'll then overview the research degrees, which is why you're all here today, and then we'll go into our question and answer session. Now, in the question and answer session, we do have our three panelists that will be helping to answer those questions. They'll do it at that time, but also you're welcome to put in questions into the chat so that our panelists can answer those on the way through during our talk this morning. If you have something that's more faculty specific or research area specific, you may want to leave that until the faculty session that starts at 11 a.m. Or if you have something that's really a nuanced case, like you've got special circumstances, you might want to also keep that to contact the Graduate Research Academy directly. And I have the information for that later on in the slides, so we can help you there. Okay, so moving on. Let's talk about Macquarie University. So Macquarie University, in my opinion, is a fantastic university. It's a great place to work, study, and also research. We have a beautiful campus, and it's right in the heart of the Innovation Park. So we've got a lot of ability to collaborate with businesses in the area. So that's a fantastic opportunity for us. We're also, according to the QS and the Times Higher Education rankings, we're also in the top 1% of universities in the world, and we are number 10 in Australia and number 130 in the world. So we're a top-ranked university, and we have really good research happening here. The way that we know that as well is because we have the Australian Research Magazine, which gives us the information on the fields that we're leading in. And we're leading in 11 fields according to that magazine. So we're number 1 in those fields. So those fields, just to give you a bit of information on that, is in, for example, we're not going through all of them, is accounting and taxation. We have computational linguistics. We have English language and literature. We have philosophy, animal behaviour and ethology, and early childhood education. So that's the ones that we're leading in. Globally, in the top 50, we're also highly ranked for data science and artificial intelligence. And just to tell you a few more, we're also top 10 in Australia for fields such as business and management, geography, history, law and legal studies, physics, politics, and of course, my personal favourite, psychology. Okay, so we have a really a really expert field of researchers to help you with your degree should you choose to do a research degree. So you'll have expert support for that. We're also number 6 in Australia for our graduate research completion. So we have a high number of graduate researchers, about 1,700, and of those, about 300 to 400 are doing their Masters of Research. So you'll be well supported by your peers as well, because there's a lot of people around doing similar to what you're doing. In addition to that, at Macquarie University, a third of our publications that we produce have a graduate researcher as an author on them. So not only is this great for Macquarie University, it's also great for you because it helps to give your career a boost. You get that publication and it helps to get you out there in the research arena. Now, the final thing here we have is that greater than 80% of our students agree that Macquarie University is a great place to do their graduate research, which is fantastic. And in addition to that, we also have over 90% of people satisfied with their supervision. So we have great supervisors that are great experts in their field to help you with your research. Okay. So why would you want to do a research degree at all? I guess you're here because you want to know about that, but also why would you want to do a research degree at Macquarie University? Now, we have 5 main reasons for that. The first reason is around why you would want to do research. You want to do research to satisfy your curiosity. Doing research, you get to really get down into the depths of something that you're really passionate about, something that you want to answer a question about, okay? So for me, I've studied how drugs affect the brain and behavior for over 20 years now, and I love it, and I wouldn't change anything about it. I love studying it. Not only do you have the ability to investigate your particular passion that you're interested in, but you can have an impact. So for me, that impact would be discovering new therapies to actually help with mental health disorders. Okay, so you work in something that you're really passionate about, you discover new things, and you enhance the field that you're working in. It may be a small impact, it may be a large impact, but nonetheless, you're increasing knowledge in the field. The other thing is that you will increase your employability. By doing a research degree, you get a whole lot of skills that can really help put you out there in the employment arena. So things like analytical skills and critical thinking skills. These are things that employers are seeking, and they really want you to have those skills to bring it to the workforce. So it's a good idea to do research for that reason as well. You also have at Macquarie University, you have an access to global opportunities. So we do have a different degree structure where we have a Masters of Research before the PhD. Now, this is really important because it aligns with many countries across the world, which means that you have opportunities to either go and do a PhD overseas, or you may want to go into the workforce overseas. They'll recognise your qualifications because you have that master's, okay? The PhD as well, you may decide that if you go into a PhD, that you may want to do a co-tutel degree, which means that you can do your PhD both at Macquarie and overseas at the same time. So you'll get 2 PhDs over the same time period. So that's a good opportunity for you as well. The other thing is with working at Macquarie for your PhD or with doing your Masters of Research, you'll achieve your goals a lot faster. So we have the data to show that if you do your Masters of Research, you will finish your PhD at least 6 months earlier than at any other institution. So I think that's a pretty good reason to come to us. The last one, and definitely not least, is that you'll be financially supported. We have a lot of opportunities for you to be financially supported. So Macquarie has a lot of generous scholarships to help those exceptional students to progress through their research career. Okay, so these are the research degrees that we have at Macquarie. And I mentioned that we have a slightly different structure. So we do have 5 degrees, and these are it's stackable so that you can actually do the degree that you want that suits your needs at the time, and you also achieves the aims that you want. So we have anything from a smaller graduate certificate of research all the way through to a Doctor of Philosophy. So we have a graduate certificate of research, a graduate diploma of research, Master of Research, Master of Philosophy, and Doctor of Philosophy. Now, you don't need to do all of those 5 if you want to do your PhD. The main track for a PhD would be Graduate Diploma of Research, followed by a Master of Research, then a Doctor of Philosophy. But it depends on what your needs are. So let's go through these in turn so that you understand what each of the degrees are. So the first one here is our Graduate Certificate of Research. This is half-year full-time equivalents, so you could do it 1 year part-time. It's a 40 credit points of advanced coursework at postgraduate level, which also includes, well, is mainly around research training. So this gives you the foundational research skills to help you if you wanted to bring it back into the workforce. So people could pop out of their workplace, come and do a graduate certificate, and then bring that back to their workplace. Okay, so either in half a year or a full year. If you want more skills in research, if you want greater depth of knowledge of research skills, you'd do a Graduate Diploma of Research. Now, this is 1 year full-time equivalent. It's 80 credit points, so it's double the amount of your graduate certificate, but it also includes research practice, so you get to actually work on a small project, okay? When the Master of Research, this is 1 year full-time equivalent, and this is where you get to become a little bit more independent in how you're doing your research. You get to conduct your own research project and you produce the output of a 20,000 word thesis. So you're getting deeper into your field and deeper into those research skills. Now, at the end of the Master of Research, you may decide that you want to do a Master of Philosophy or a Doctor of Philosophy. You can go either way. You can do all of them if you want. Master of Research, Master of Philosophy, then Doctor of Philosophy. But most people would go Master of Research into Doctor of Philosophy. The main difference between the Master of Philosophy and the Doctor of Philosophy or PhD is the depth of understanding. And usually in a Doctor of Philosophy, you would produce some really high quality original research. So the Master of Philosophy is 2 years, you have a 50,000 word thesis, and for the Doctor of Philosophy or PhD, it's 3 years with a 75 to 100,000 word thesis. Now, importantly, you get mentored from, as I said before, we have all of those supervisors that are experts that can help you with your research degree. Now, we've talked about the PhD here, but today, obviously, we're focusing on the Master of Research. So before I go on to talk about any more about this, let's hear from other people who have done their Master of Research and hear about what they have to say. They're only a few minutes each, so let's see first of all, what Amanda has to say about her MRes.
If you are in that position where you're not too sure what you want to do next, you're thinking about it, you might be stuck in a job that you don't really like me, the perfect thing to consider. So I would just go for it. In the media, we often see a lot of criticism around those people who go to memorials and take selfies. This really fascinated me after a trip to the New York City 9/11 memorial last year, where I saw so many people with selfie sticks in their hand, and I was wondering, why do people do this? What's this all about? So I decided to do some research of my own throughout the MRes program, and I figured out that it's actually a really nuanced cultural practice that goes beyond what we consider to be a traditional selfie, and that really interested me. I look at how do people actually self-represent on Instagram and other social media platforms when they're at memorial sites? What are the kinds of things that they say in captions, and how do they show their experience in that place? And let me tell you, it's not what we think it is. I've definitely faced more than a few challenges during this time, and I think a lot of that comes down to imposter syndrome. You know, where I grew up in part of regional Australia, we didn't really have uni as something that people did. There were a few of us that went to university out of my high school, but doing a PhD, doing a research degree definitely wasn't something on my radar or something that I even thought would be possible for someone like me growing up back all those years ago. So I think being able to kind of lean into when I'm feeling insecure about my research and just remembering that I'm on this path for a reason and everything's going to work out is, I think, the best way that I've been managing that. And also just having such a great community of people around me to fall back on. I have an amazing supervisor, Dr. Jane Simon, and her support has been so wonderful throughout this entire process, as well as the rest of the Graduate Research Academy that we have here at Macquarie. I definitely have advice for anybody that's thinking about doing a Master of Research, and I think it's just go for it.
Love it. Okay, next we have Sally, who's all about dinosaurs from natural science.
When I was really little, like every other 4-year-old on the planet, I really wanted to be someone who studies dinosaurs. So I think I definitely have the dream job now of digging up dinosaurs.
These guys have taken away so much of the hoodoo, and then the dinosaur is under this white thing over here.
For me, doing an arts degree where I got to study ancient history and a science degree where I got to study dinosaurs and biology weirdly complemented each other. For my Masters of Research, I created something called the Found a Fossil Project. You were a farmer and you were on your land and you came across something. You may not necessarily know if it's a fossil versus an Indigenous artifact. So there was this gaping hole of who are you meant to contact? What are you meant to do? I certainly had no idea, and I had a degree in both of those things. A lot of people who I talk to in my research are like, oh, that would never happen to me. But a lot of the finds are by farmers or miners, people at the beach or on bushwalk. This massive dinosaur behind me is a Muttaburrasaurus, and its species name is Langdoni. The person who found it was a farmer, and he actually tripped over the bone when he was discovering this dinosaur. Thought, wow, that is a really big cow. Took it to a museum, and it turned out it was a brand new dinosaur species, so they got to name it after him. People want to see you succeed. They really want interesting projects. So if you can get people on side to make it happen, I think Macquarie is probably one of the best places for that.
Okay, and last but not least is Hamid from Applied Finance.
Macquarie to me is really a second home. This university has been very kind to me all throughout my bachelor's, my master's, and now, the tail end of my PhD. Every time that I think that I've finished studying here at Macquarie, I come back and pursue something else. My Master of Research thesis examined how policies from offshore central banks affect the Australian financial market. It was a really eye-opening exercise because it allowed me to sort of solidify and understand further a lot of the concepts that I sort of hypothesized on but was never able to empirically examine. My PhD thesis right now is examining the interaction between the real economy and financial markets via multiple different channels. The Masters of Research was a really good segue to pick up these research skills that I'm now using in my PhD. I had the ability to spend a whole year doing rigorous coursework to build up the skill set, and then I spent a whole year putting together a thesis that is now, ready for publication in a top-tier journal. One of the things that I've utilized quite a lot throughout my studies and continue to do so for my PhD is Refinitiv Icon. To do a really good research thesis, there needs to be a combination of theoretical and empirical elements. The empirical can only be done if we have access to world-class data. So having access to this platform, it is a serious advantage that I have gained throughout my studies. So Macquarie provides an incredible opportunity for you to become an expert in the field that you have a passion in. And you can only do that when you have world-class supervisors and a world-class department. I love our community, I love the environment, and I love just how supportive colleagues, peers, other students have been.
Right. So you see the breadth of types of research that you can do here, and obviously there's much more than that. But what I wanted to highlight here as well is at Macquarie, or when you do the Masters of Research, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to go on to do a PhD or further higher degree study. The Master of Research is a really good way to get those skill sets to actually get you further along in the workforce. So you don't have to go on, you can take the Masters of Research and go on with that. Okay, so let's go into how the actual research training pathway works. So this is the Master of Research pathway. Okay, so we've got the Graduate Certificate of Research, the Graduate Diploma of Research along here, and then we've got the Master of Research here at the end on this continuum, if you like. So for the Graduate Certificate of Research and also the Graduate Diploma of Research, in order for you to enter the degree, you need to have a bachelor degree, and the bachelor degree you need to be hitting about a credit average, so 65% minimum, okay? So a credit average. Now, there are some exceptions to that. If you'd like to look up the additional entry requirements or talk to your faculties, you can see what those additional entry requirements are. But generally, it's a credit average to get into either of these two degrees. Now, if you do a Graduate Certificate of Research, you do your 40 credit points, and then you can decide to graduate with your certificate, which is all great. You may also decide, well, actually, I really like research so much that I want to keep on going and apply to continue on in your Graduate Diploma of Research. Likewise, if you start in your Graduate Diploma of Research, you may find that after you've done your 40 credit points that it may not be the right timing for you. You may not even like doing what you're doing, or it's just you've got different circumstances, so you need to change what you're doing. That's fine. You can opt to exit early at that point and exit with a Graduate Certificate of Research, which is fine. Otherwise, you can continue on in your Graduate Diploma of Research and receive those 80 credit points. Now, from the Graduate Diploma of Research, you can go into your Master of Research. Now, of course, you must meet the credit average there. So you have to have 65% minimum. Again, we've got those additional entry requirements in order to get into the Master of Research program. Now, if you're not coming from Macquarie, you could be elsewhere, or you've done a different degree at Macquarie. You can come into the Master of Research as long as you've got credit average, if you have a graduate diploma or a bachelor degree with honours or a master's degree by coursework. So as long as you've got an AQF 8 level degree, you can apply to come into the Master of Research. Now, another thing I wanted to highlight here was all of these degrees, so the Graduate Certificate, Graduate Diploma and Master of Research, they're all available in each of our faculties. We have 4 main faculties, which you'll get to meet later on, and I'll show you more information on that later on as well. We have the Faculty of Arts, the Macquarie Business School, we have the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Human Sciences, and we have Science and Engineering as our 4 main faculties. Okay. So when you've finished your Master of Research, as I said before, you can either graduate with that and go off into the workforce and use the skills that you've developed, or you can go on and do those higher degrees such as the Master of Philosophy or PhD. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about some of the key features. I know we've gone through the duration, so I won't go on about that, but let's look at the Graduate Certificate of Research. The study options for the domestic students, all faculties offer part-time Graduate Certificates of Research, so you do it over a year. If you want to do it full-time, that would be in the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Human Sciences and Macquarie Business School. Okay, internationals always have to be full-time. So you would have to do this Graduate Certificate of Research in Faculty of Medicine or the Business School. The start dates for the Graduate Certificate are February and July. The fees are for domestics and internationals, it's both fee paying, and there's no scholarship available for the certificate. With the Graduate Diploma of Research, again, for domestics, you can do full-time, part-time in any faculty. Internationals have to be full-time. The start dates are February and July. The fees, we have many Commonwealth supported places to help you with the tuition fees, or there are fee paying places. For internationals, it's fee paying. Now for scholarships, and I'll go into the scholarships in a bit more detail over the next 2 slides, but we have a $5,000 scholarship or stipend per session for high performing students who are eligible to receive it. For the Master of Research, the study options, you can be full-time or part-time. As a domestic, international, you must be full-time. Start dates are January or July. For the domestics, the government will pay your tuition fee. So the RTP, which is our research training program, fee offset, so you don't need to pay the tuition fee, but internationals are fee paying unless you get a scholarship. So if it's an international scholarship, then your tuition fee will be paid. The stipend is $38,500 in 2025, and this is indexed annually, so it will go up over time. Okay, so going into a bit more detail for your scholarships, this is a Graduate Diploma of Research. As I said, the stipend value is of $5,000 per session, a maximum of 2 sessions. It's awarded to high-performing domestic and international students who meet those eligibility criteria, which are here below. In your commencing session, you would need to have a WAM of 80 or a distinction average. So you need to have an equivalent GPA of 6 out of 7. So distinction average when you're entering. You have to be enrolled full-time at the census date in your commencing session. For the subsequent session, you need to have achieved or maintained your distinction average in the commencing session, and you must be enrolled full-time at the census date in the subsequent session. So you can have a look at the scholarships as well using the QR code that I have there. For the Master of Research, we have a number of scholarships that are available to you. Now, they are typically including a living allowance, as I said before, of $38,500 that's indexed, and a tuition fee offset. So we have progressing scholarships, road to research scholarships, major round scholarships, and project-specific scholarships. So for progressing scholarships, these are available to students who are progressing from the Graduate Diploma of Research. So if you're at Macquarie and you can progress through to a Master of Research with a scholarship based on your academic merit. With the Road to Research scholarships, these are available to domestic students and any onshore international students who have a valid visa that will cover the course of the MRes, so cover the timing of the MRes degree. Again, these are awarded based on academic merit, so either your WAM or your GPA. We also have major round scholarships. These are the scholarships that come from the Australian Government and the Research Training Program, and also from Macquarie University's Research Excellence Scheme. Macquarie University is very generous in how much money they spend on their scholarships, so it's great. That's another, I said that before, but it's another good reason to come here. We also have bundled offers where you can request a 1+3. So if you know that you want to do your PhD, you can ask for a bundled offer, which is MRes and PhD, that can be made available to top ranked applicants. Now, the last one we have here is a project-specific scholarships. These are unique scholarships that supervisors may be advertising or that industry has put forward as potential scholarships for you to apply for so that you can do your PhD or MRes while you're using their money. So they can be externally funded. What I would suggest that you do is that you spend a bit of time looking at this, going to this QR code, looking through our scholarship pages. There's a number of accordions, so little tabs, if you like, at the bottom of the page that take you through our scholarship schemes. One of them highlights our project-specific scholarships, so please go in and have a look. For example, I know we have a number of scholarships available with CSIRO at the moment, and it would be great for you to apply for those should you fit the brief for what research that they would like you to do. Okay. We also have an Indigenous Research Excellence Scholarship, and this is a generous scholarship. It includes the Macquarie base stipend as well as a top-up, if you like, from Wallangamaroo, which is our Indigenous Centre on campus. So they top up your stipend. So this basically is available to Indigenous students as long as you're enrolled in an eligible research degree and you identify as Indigenous. And it's really important that we do this so that we get more Indigenous scholars at Macquarie University and also in Australia as a whole, because we need to really build that knowledge base. So for the scholarship, you can see here that you have the 5,000 from Macquarie, which is topped up by Wallangamaroo, another 5,000, which is a maximum of 10,000 and a maximum of 2 sessions. Okay, so 10,000 per session. The Master of Research, you have the base of 38,500 and you get 8,000 from Wallangamaroo. Now, with those components of the supplementary stipend, you also get access to mentoring from academics and professionals and also your peers. You do have opportunities to develop your career and your research skills to bring into your career goals. You also have the opportunities to present your research at local, regional, and national conferences. So I do encourage you to apply, and if you need help, please reach out and ask us. So the application dates for domestic students, let's focus on domestic students first. The applications opened for all of the degrees on the 1st of June, and for the Graduate Certificate of Research and the Graduate Diploma of Research, these applications close on the 30th of November this year. For the Master of Research, the applications close on the 31st of October of this year. For international students, you can see that the applications are now closed. However, if you're onshore and you have a valid visa that will last the course of the degree that last the timing of the course of the degree that you're applying for, then you can use the application closing dates for the domestic students. So in other words, if you're onshore and you have a visa, the graduate certificate's due on the 30th of November, graduate diploma is due on the 30th of November, and the Master of Research on the 31st of October. So that's if you're onshore. If you're not, there are opportunities to apply for next year. It will open early next year after Christmas, and then it will close in early March. Okay, so just keep an eye out for those timings. Now, how to apply? Just putting this out there to help you. It's a guide. You don't have to follow this directly, but it gives you an idea of what to do. So if you're applying for a graduate certificate or a graduate diploma of research, best thing to do is to decide on which course you want to go for. Then check the entry requirements, gather your documentation, because there is quite a bit of documentation, and our website will tell you what that documentation is. And then when you've got all that in hand, go to our applicant portal and apply online. So again, you can use that QR code to find more information. For the Masters of Research, there's a little bit more work that needs to be done. Again, you check your entry requirements, have a look to see if there's any scholarships that you might be eligible for. So see which ones you might want to apply for. The third thing is to find a supervisor and to develop your research proposal. Now, this isn't essential. There's faculties like Faculty of Business that don't necessarily need you to do that. So do check that out in your faculty session. But generally, it's a good idea to think about who you might like to work with and what your research proposal may be about. Then gather, again, your documentation and also referees. So you need some details for referees to help with your application for this particular degree. And then you can apply online through our applicant portal. And again, use the QR code there to find more information about applications. Now, lastly, please, as I said before, feel free to contact the Graduate Research Academy. We're here to help you. We're here to support you. The Graduate Research Academy is a central function that works with the faculties, but we're centrally located to look after your application process, the life cycle of your degree. We also help you with lots of research training and also provide you with lots of experiences like at conferences and social get-togethers, that kind of thing. So if you've got any questions about the application process or about the degrees, please submit an inquiry through that link or through the QR code. And for academic advice, you will be meeting your faculty soon, but there may be specific questions that you want help with, or you want a little bit of an idea of what kind of research would suit you. Please use this link here to talk to an academic advisor or make a meeting with an academic advisor to help you basically produce or work out what it is that what you would like to do for your degree. All right. Now we've come to the question and answer session, and I'd like to hand back to Jenny Martin to help facilitate that, please. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much to Professor Cornish and to all our wonderful attendees that are populating our Q&A on the bottom there. So our panelists are responding to those, and especially anything that is very specific to your particular circumstance. That's a great one to put in there and to have in your mind, but that will be answered either by one of our panelists, or please do contact the GRA, as Jen has mentioned to you as well. So for some general questions, if I could ask the panel members to please show their faces and to unmute as well. So we have a few questions about the CSP, the Commonwealth Supported Places, that are available for domestic students. Catherine, could you explain to us, please, a bit more how that works?
Apologies, Jen, I missed the very first part. Say that again.
Of course. So the CSP, the Commonwealth Supported Places that are available for some domestic students applying. Yep. How does that work for them? How are they allocated?
Oh, okay. So how does it work? You just apply, like you submit one application. So I did see a question on the Q&A about, do you have to submit separate applications for a Commonwealth supported place and a domestic fee paying place? No, you don't. You can just submit one. In terms of how we allocate it, in the event that we have an overwhelming number of applications, and we actually have more applications than we have Commonwealth supported places, we would absolutely have to look at sort of ordering it by merit, which is fairly standard with what the rest of the university does, where if, we've got only, let's say, for example, 100 CSP places and we get 300 students who are actually eligible, for the program. We would basically have to rank it in order of academic merit. But of course, we always try and use our CSP places first. We absolutely want to support all of our domestic students as much as possible. We know how expensive everything is in Sydney and in Australia. So please don't let that discourage you. We will always prioritise CSP places before we do the domestic fee paying places. And that's obviously just for the graduate diploma. Our graduate domestic fee payment.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So the bottom line is please do apply, and you'll be considered for the best way that you can fund your research degree. We also have a few questions from our postgraduate students that are out there currently either doing a coursework master's or have recently completed a coursework master's. What does that count for, and how do you get in then to the research side of things? Is there any RPL? What's the best entry point? Louise, are you able to address those questions?
Hi, Jenny. I have been very busy answering the questions on the Q&A, and I missed the first part of your question. Could you repeat it?
So a lot of double barrel questions for you.
Yes.
So it's for our postgraduate coursework students, either currently studying or almost going to complete. What does this count for? Is there any RPL for coursework? What's the best entry point into the research side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jenny. So if postgraduate coursework students are thinking about a research pathway, the admission requirements to our MRes require that students have completed the equivalent of a graduate diploma or an AQF 8. So typically a coursework master's, which is an AQF 9 degree, if it is in the same discipline, many students will be able to go directly into the MRes and won't need to do the graduate diploma. But this would be determined through the application process. Your faculty and your department will look at what you previously studied. But typically we have many students who go straight into our MRes and on the basis of a coursework master's degree. We also have a provision, and I've seen a couple of questions in the chat about going directly into the PhD. So our entry requirement to the PhD is completion of an MRes or completion of an equivalent research master's degree. Now, if you don't have either of those, then most often we would make you an offer of the MRes as a pathway to the PhD. But we do have a way where we would case by case consider your background, your experience, your work experience. So if you're someone who has done a coursework master's degree, but you have some publications or you have worked as a research assistant, then we would be asking you to demonstrate that in your application, include your full CV, all of your experience, and we will make a determination case by case at the time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And another cohort of students that are out there are ones that have completed or are about to complete their honours year in a bachelor's degree and are asking some questions about, again, which entry point do they come into the research side here at Macquarie. Mel, would you like to field that question?
Yeah, sure. Although Catherine and Louise are probably better to answer this than me. But definitely if you've completed a Bachelor and Honours here, you can certainly look to apply for the MRes. We'd love to have you come on board as the MRes student. Yeah, so in very short, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And for our international students out there as well, that was addressed during the session in terms of the application date. A few questions about English requirements. Catherine, would you be able to provide a few more details about the English requirements?
Okay, English language requirement, typically off the top of my head, although perhaps we can sort of in the chat, and I think also the presentation has got some links. But typically the English language requirements are either that you've completed 5 years or more of study in an English-speaking country. Now, there are specific requirements around what we classify as English-speaking countries, which I do realise does not everybody agrees with it, but it's typically places like, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, America, South Africa. and it's 5 years or more of study, that absolutely would include your secondary study. So high school study is also counted towards that as well. If you've completed an AQS 7 or higher, which is typically a bachelor's program in Australia within the last 2 years, that would be an entry requirement for our program. So I did see someone included on the chat a question about, I'm currently enrolled in a Master of Data Science, my IELTS has expired, do I need to fit a language test again? If you are completing a Master of Data Science in Australia, you don't need to fit an IELTS again because it's basically your completion of that program, which would allow you entries to the MRes. Also, we do accept a number of language steps. So we do accept, obviously academic IELTS is the big one that we accept. TOEFL, there's the Cambridge one, there's the Pearson's one. There's another one that I'm missing as well, and I'll see if I can actually, I've got the list here, I might try and put it up somewhere. But we also accept that. And we do have some very specific requirements in relation to people who've been completing work in Australia. But these are sort of more by exception. If someone has been working in Australia for the last 3 years or more, it might be that we could approve that as meeting our English language requirements. But it would need to be very much supported by the department and the faculty, and essentially, an applicant needs to demonstrate that they are proficient in English. I mean, you're obviously looking at potentially writing theses of 20,000 words in the MRes, and if you do choose to go into the PhD, it's an even bigger thesis. So we do have, I guess, higher than coursework for that very reason. I do have a link. We do have it outlined quite clearly in our schedule in relation to the exams that we accept. But yes, it's IELTS, the academic version, TOEFL, IBT, PT academic, Cambridge English C1 and Cambridge English C2. And there's obviously set criteria that you need to meet in relation to your overall score of your reading, your writing, your listening. But we can probably just share that link.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So for our international candidates out there, please apply, please ask your questions. That there's a lot of people here to help you and to support you to come across. We know there's a lot of extra paperwork that you need to go through. So we're all here to help you to get you here to Macquarie and to doing Macquarie research. All right, we'll do one more question and then we'll wrap it up and ready for the faculty sessions, which will take place from 11 o'clock. Just to Jen, in terms of the Masters, the Diploma and then the Masters, we have people asking that basically their end goal is to do the PhD and they want to know what the Masters program will help them to get in terms of skills to be able to apply then for the PhD.
Okay, so the Masters, essentially you're getting if you like, it's giving you the initial skill base for actually for project management, for getting a thesis started to completion all the way like through all the, if you need ethics, all the ethics, actually running the experiment, learning how to critically analyze more than what you would get from a graduate diploma. So it's not until you're actually doing a full research project that you really get the depth of research skills that you need. And when you've got those research skills, it means that you hit the ground running for your PhD. And that's why people finish faster, because they know what to expect. Usually they're working with a supervisor that they've done their Masters of Research with. So that connection with the supervisor is really strong. So then they can go ahead and get their PhD done really quickly. So you learn the basic skills, but they're more than just the foundational skills, if you like, that you would get in the certificate or the diploma to actually hit the ground running for your PhD. So it really does help.